Our story kicks off with a hero going head-to-head with the ultimate boss of a super tough dungeon, the wingless dragon Ceberumus level 67. Everyone's totally wiped out, and the dragon just keeps charging up power in its mouth. The dwarf paladin's not going to be able to block that move this time. But out of nowhere, he spots a green creature and totally freaks out. A green creature with skinny legs and a big belly. A dungeon boss. It's finished charging up power in its mouth, and right in front of it stands a goblin, club in hand. What on earth is a goblin doing here? Then, the dragon unleashes its power straight at the goblin, blasting everything in its path. But that goblin, still grinning, and he dodges it like it's nothing. No one can believe a goblin could be that quick. Did he really manage to take down that dragon? But what we're seeing now is only half the story. From the body of that dungeon boss, a goblin took out Ceberumus with just one hit. Nobody has a clue what's going on. A monster attacking another monster? Must be a summoned monster, right? One of them shouts for everyone to look up there on the hill. Now we see a guy with a pretty peculiar grin on his face. They're all convinced that this guy summoned that goblin so we can get the full story. But to really get it, we need to rewind a bit. There he is, a construction worker hauling bags of cement. This dude's been working all day with a big old smile plastered on his face. Even though he thinks he's a goblin, he's obviously weak, and the best place for him is in a low-level dungeon. A creature that will never be able to escape the lower levels of the dungeons. Oh man. He sits down to take a break, thinking about how there are people out there hitting the lottery right this second, going from zero to hero overnight. He looks up and thinks, a goblin will always be a goblin, no matter how much experience he racks up. Then, he notices a couple of people chatting about Mr. Char. Looks like these guys are playing such an awesome game that they're not even showing up to work. And word on the street is, he scored some kind of hidden class. And apparently, you can actually make money from this game. This game, Heaven's Gate, is a fully immersive virtual reality game that's insanely popular right now. It's so realistic that people forget about real life, but it's not something everyone can get their hands on. The tech is expensive, so folks from lower-income backgrounds get to enjoy it at internet gaming cafes around the country. But hey, everything comes with a price tag. Real-world money started to make part of the in-game cash, and items actually became currency in real life thanks to that game. It was a historic milestone in gaming development. He used to play this game a lot, but after a while, he went back to playing the game of real life. And now, it's time to bust out his special move, the ultimate mining rock smash. But somehow, he just got 3 ores out of thin air. That guy drops his pickaxe and starts yelling, man. It's all super annoying. After all the effort he's put in so far, he still hasn't found anything and is totally buried in debt. You know how everyone's the main character in their own story, right? But where's the part where he turns into a legendary hero? And hey, when does a beautiful girl show up and propose to him? Well, looks like his prayers are finally being answered. Whoa, would you look at that, a high-level healing crystal? If he sells that, it's gotta be worth at least 300 grand. Check out that smug little face of his. Now he's actually grateful for being a miner. While he's busy drooling over that mineral, someone approaches and he sees it's a woman, and not just any woman, but a real stunner. She walks right up and asks if he's always mining there every day. That must mean his mining skills are off the charts. They were strolling through a tunnel, but of course, there's a giant boulder blocking the way. Her party members are strong, but none of them know a thing about mining. So, still a bit shy, she asks if a skilled miner like him could lend her a hand. This guy? He might have the skills, but his level is low, so there's no way he can safely enter dungeons. But the guy cuts in, saying hell help her out. If any monsters show up, all he has to do is stick with them and scoop up the minerals. But just look at our hero's face. The dwarf keeps going, saying he just saw a dwarf and figured all dwarves must be great miners too. No way, he hesitates for a moment. And then he starts wondering if he joins the group, maybe he could rack up some experience. And hey, snagging a few high-level minerals wouldn't be a bad deal either. But will he actually make it back in one piece? And can he really respawn in this game? But he knows that this game has that kind of thing too. Then, the girl grabs his arm, starts stroking it, and showers him with a bunch of kisses. Miners are totally her type because they always have the strongest arms. The guy just can't resist her charm and makes up his mind. After a while, once they're already inside the dungeon, he starts questioning what on earth he was thinking. When he spots a level 7 gray wolf, he realizes the monsters here are actually lower level than he thought. But there are a ton of monsters around, and his own level is actually lower than theirs too. The wolf lunges at him, ready to chow down, and he screams out his mom's name. The girl tells him not to move and busts out a special skill, Char, of the salamander. Wiping out all the monsters in one go, she comes closer and asks if he's hurt. Her name's Katarine Lee, level 39 mage. He thanks her for the help, all the while thinking she just obliterated all those gray wolves with a single move. Whoa, this girl is seriously strong. She wipes her eyes and tells him not to scare her like that again, and not to leave her side, because it's way too dangerous. Whoa, just look at the face he's making. Now he's starting to sweat bullets, thinking she wants him to stay by her side forever. Finally, the epic romance he's been dreaming of is actually happening. Meanwhile, the other guy, dodging two wolves with his hands behind his back, tells him not to be so shocked. They don't usually play around in dungeons like this. He whips out his staff from behind his back and spins it around, taking out all the wolves in one go. That move was called the giant Ferris wheel swing. The guy keeps talking, saying they're only here to check out what's inside that ore, which can only be broken with a super high mining level. They skipped that part because, honestly, they had no other choice. And putting points into skills like mining just seemed like a total waste. But now, people like you are actually needed. But seriously, what does this guy even mean by people like him? Does he think I'm some kind of idiot? Can't this guy mine without him around? So he starts getting annoyed, saying he just can't let this slide. He's totally convinced I don't have any combat skills at all. Then he gets to mining, busting out his mining ultimate again, and he starts smashing those rocks like they're made of paper. This guy's got a ton of energy for mining, but sadly, he still hasn't found a thing. The dwarf's thinking that if there's nothing inside that ore, the losses are going to be massive. But the guy insists there is something. And if he's wrong, he's going to make someone pay for wasting his time in this dumb dungeon. Meanwhile, our hero is over there mining away, getting underpaid and risking his neck for pocket change. He's so used to it by now that he can't even get mad anymore, and that's what really ticks him off. He tries to just keep his head down, finish the job, get paid, and get the heck out of there. It's just another totally normal day in the life of a nobody miner, so he keeps on smashing those rocks. After a while of smashing rocks, they stumble upon something that leaves everyone totally speechless: a gigantic gate. Looks like it's a hidden dungeon. One of them can't even believe they actually found a secret dungeon. Yep, seems like they could score some special rewards and maybe even switch classes. All inside a hidden dungeon. One guy says, "We hit the jackpot," and the girl goes, "We? Really?" While the miner is grinning, all excited thinking he's about to change classes, the guy sneaks up behind him, draws his sword, and activates sin mode, striking the miner in the back like a total coward. The attack was so brutal it dealt 480 damage, and the poor miner can barely catch his breath. The girl just smiles at him and says it's super rare to find a hidden dungeon, and in a low-level area no less, so yeah, that makes it even crazier. All they needed was someone with that trashy mining skill to get in. The girl sweetly asks our dear miner not to hold a grudge. After all, they did all the fighting, he just tagged along for the ride. Meanwhile, the guy's thinking, wow, they really knew about this hidden dungeon from the start. The dude grabs the miner's head while he's still asking if they knew all along. But this guy straight up admits he knew from the very beginning. Did he really think they'd waste their time here for nothing? He did a good job mining, though. And for that reason, he's going to give him a quick death. There goes the life of one poor, naive, but oh souseful miner. Suddenly, he wakes up and it looks like he's still inside the dungeon. But wait, the guys hadn't actually killed him. That's when he realizes the advanced healing crystal had been shattered. So that means he died and came back to life. There go the 300 grand he was going to make selling that crystal poof, gone. And now he's bawling his eyes out, pounding the floor like a kid who dropped his ice cream. The guy died, got revived, and now he's broke again. So about that door. A massive door starts opening up for him, which means this dungeon adventure is far from over. Do those other players really think he's just going to walk away? After losing his healing crystal? No way! He starts crawling right back into the dungeon. And the only thing running through his mind now is changing his life too. In the end, what he really wants is to become those guys' worst nightmare. So, he stumbles upon a hidden dungeon. Here we go, he just jumps right in. But check this out, he leaps in without even knowing what's inside. And it looks like there are stairs. Nice. He dives in, totally determined, and immediately loses 80 health points. Now he's only got 20 HP left. He actually went for it. Inside, there's this massive goblin just chilling on a chair. This is it, the hidden dungeon, the Goblin Sanctuary. Is that all there is in here? Just goblins? We all know goblins. They're basically like newbies, right? Shouldn't there be something way tougher in a place like this? He starts looking around and notices it's eerily quiet. Where did everyone else go? As he walks, he suddenly comes across a hand. He looks down and sees that dwarf totally wrecked on the floor. What on earth happened here? But on that dwarf's body, there's a message. Supreme Dwarf, can you use some skill to bring me back to life? Unfortunately, he doesn't have that kind of skill. Looks like he's just holding down the revive button so he doesn't lose that hidden dungeon. Man, this guy is way too greedy. Then suddenly the system starts issuing a warning. Warning. This is a high difficulty dungeon, way above your level. Please exit. Immediately. Out of nowhere, he hears a scream, but that voice sounds super familiar. He looks back and sees a giant hand squishing that guy and huge feet stomping on the girl. Whoa. But wait, that wasn't the Goblin Sanctuary. Then he spots Janger, level 80A bizarre creature with a worm's head. Man, that thing is ugly and grotesque, and it's level 80. If you thought it was ugly before, just wait till it opens its mouth, it gets even worse. It's got a mouth like a leech, packed with teeth, and that guy is about to become its snack. And if you thought it was just gonna swallow him, nope, it did something way worse. She shoved that guy's whole body into her mouth and started grinding him up, spinning her mouth at full speed. And our boy, the miner who had never seen anyone die in his life, is just standing there, watching all of this go down. Remember, this game was all about chasing ultimate realism. And that, of course, includes pain. There's a safety system that makes it so monsters at your level or lower don't hurt you as much, too. But he also looks at the girl, trapped between the monster's toes, while she's screaming for help. And he keeps thinking, if you get hit by a monster that's way higher level than you, it's a whole different story. You feel every bit of that pain. He starts yelling that there's no freaking way he's going to risk his life to save this idiot woman. There's nothing he can do against this damn monster. Pain is a trauma that doesn't just go away, even if your character respawns. It messes directly with your nervous system, and in some extreme cases, it can even cause brain death. While the monster is having his meal and holding the dessert, he is walking on his tiptoes. After all, he can't let that thing catch him and kill him. Slowly. As he walks, he tries not to get caught up in the guilt, because they were the ones who abandoned him first. Now he starts running, thinking he's too weak and won't be able to help anyone. He's got to survive, even if it means going it alone. At this point, I can't even tell if he's laughing or crying. Honestly, this guy's starting to look like a goblin too, and look who's taken a liking to him, the Goblin Lord. He feels some kind of connection to his cowardice and weakness. While he's crying, praying not to die, he keeps an eye on the system window. Goblin Lord? But what kind of goblin could actually be a lord? And he stares at that giant goblin with skinny legs and a huge belly. While he calls him weak and cowardly, sadly, he never wanted to be born this way. He didn't want to be a coward and weak. If he were strong, he could have saved everyone. Even if he just had a little bit of strength, he wouldn't have run away. And now, all he sees are people who had just a bit of strength. Getting completely crushed, honestly, all this guy ever wanted was a job nobody would look down on. He wanted to take down a bunch of monsters in a dungeon, not be some pathetic miner. Just imagine if he had strong abilities like everyone else. Everything his parents, who he never even met, left him, was just a pile of debt. He grew up unable to do anything about it. He pounds his chest and asks the goblin if this is what it means to be weak, to be insulted for it. Why should he be insulted for that? For that? He yells at that goblin statue. If he's weak, then a goblin is weak too. Who are you to say anyone here is weak? In the real world, literally everyone looks down on him. And now, in the game, even a goblin is pitying him, and he shouts that now he's a goblin too. So what? Damn it? Then the system chimes in and says he's now an honorary goblin. And he'll even get help from some goblins. He met the requirements to change to a hidden class. Does he want to change his class? Goblin Summoner, he stops crying and just stares at that window. Can this really even be called a hidden class? You've got to be kidding me. He doesn't want this kind of garbage. He says no, but the system detects a yes. Now he's a goblin, and the class change is complete. You guys remember there was a monster behind him, eating everyone, right? Well, that monster is after him now. And now it's way too late to run. Crap, there's no turning back anymore since he's got that goblin summoning skill. So he summons his very first goblin. A magic circle pops up on the ground, and a goblin starts to emerge, grinning from ear to ear with that classic goblin smile. Meanwhile, he's thinking, great, a weakling goblin showed up. And you guys know what happens to the weak ones. They get used as bait so the others can escape. He tells the goblin to go on ahead and take down that monster. But to him, this goblin isn't your average goblin. He shows up already wielding a club, and the monster lets out a roar. As the fight kicks off, this is the moment our guy plans to bolt out of there, glancing back over his shoulder. Getting ready to make a run for it, the goblin just lands a single blow right to the monster's stomach. The hit is so powerful that with just one strike, the monster is literally split in half. Whoa! He's totally baffled. Weren't goblins supposed to be weak? Just look at his face. He's totally clueless about what just happened. Now, he's racked up a bunch of experience points and even picked up some new skills. One of them is literally taking the goblin for a walk. Even this goblin leveled up from the fight. While that goblin soaks up all the experience points, his grin just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Damn it! This scrawny little goblin is max level already. That guy got eaten by that monster, chewed up completely, and it was slow and brutal. Meanwhile, the girl was stuck at its feet, forced to watch the whole thing. In the real world, she was screaming her lungs out. The security guard rushed over to help her. He yanked off her VR headset super fast, but it was already too late. Sadly, she went into shock and never recovered. Now she's been forced to retire. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, that goblin just kept dishing out blows with infinite power. And with every single hit that goblin landed, he kept leveling up. He'd go up a level every time. The goblin was kicking, shredding, slicing, and tearing through monsters, and all he did was keep leveling up. He even started telling the goblin to take a little break, not even bothering to pick up the stones off the ground. He was handling it, but just look at his happy face, saying he couldn't carry any more of this stuff. He already had a low-level monster mana stone, a wolf's claw, and a bunch of other items stuffed in that backpack. This guy's name is Kenshuzu, Goblin Summoner, and he was already at level 31 Strength 4, Stamina 2, Agility 0, Intelligence 1, Luck 0, and 26 attribute points to spend. The moment he got this goblin, he realized this was the turning point after he'd been defeated. That hidden dungeon and his whole party? Yeah, they're all dead. And the only way out of there wasn't by clearing the dungeon or dying. That goblin? He soloed the whole dungeon and didn't gain a single level, while Kenshu had already hit 31. He tries to check the goblin's stats, but everything's locked out. It makes zero sense for a low-rank monster like a goblin to be this strong. I think this goblin's already maxed out. Could this be a bug? But if it's a bug, he doesn't mind taking advantage of that bug at all. To the max. With this awesome goblin by his side, he'll never have to mine again, and he might just become the top player at Paradise Gate. Meanwhile, a little ways off at Nara Bank, the teller calls for customer number 36. Everything he collected inside that dungeon added up to 97,000. And he can convert items straight into cash at the bank. But he's got even more stuff he wants to sell, like a Janger's heart membrane. The teller was stunned. She quickly rushes out, calling the manager over to check this out. A little while later, the manager shows up, even offering him coffee. That's the bank manager, Nara. Wow, but the coffee's cold. He just came here to turn his items into cash. Why does he even need to talk to the bank manager? But the manager actually knows way better places to stash all that money. And that's why he got called in for a chat with the manager. It'd be a total waste to just leave all that cash sitting in a checking account. That guy wants to sell some really great ones. Investment options. Oh, he knows investing is a big deal, but is that really something a manager can handle? I mean, at most, he's got 1,000,001, right? But he's got to be mistaken. 1,000,000? Oh, the value of Jair's membrane heart on the exchange market today, it's worth at least 230 million. With just one dungeon raid, he managed to pay off 10% of his debt, all thanks to that goblin. Oh, he didn't even call, and the goblin came running right over to him. He looks at that goblin and calls it super cute. This is the ugliest goblin I've ever seen on the face of the earth. He tries to unsummon the goblin, but no luck, at all. And apparently he's turning heads everywhere he goes. Some people are thinking this guy's a goner as soon as the time comes, while others are starting to have a good laugh. So there's this ugly goblin strolling through the city. Yeah, looks like someone summoned that ugly creature. People start laughing, saying the ugly goblin is a perfect match for the ugly summoner. But the goblin just keeps hopping around and giggling. Then, someone calls out to him, "Whoa, what's going on here? A goblin just wandering around the city?" That's Patton, the Annihilator from the Everton Guild. That guy is seriously famous. Oh man, this is really bad. Apparently that guy wants to take out the goblin. Kim starts yelling, saying that monster isn't actually a monster. But this, Nara doesn't want to hear any of it and just swings a massive slash at the goblin, dealing an impressive total of 0 damage. The goblin, on the other hand, strikes back with a single blow of infinite damage on that guy had already switched on his sin mode. And the pain level doesn't go past the fainting threshold, just to stop high-level players from bullying others. Just a single blow was enough to shatter that guy's whole body. Look at that, the Annihilator duck just got annihilated by a goblin. Did he just kill a man? If people find out he was the one who summoned that monster, he's in for a world of trouble. The hooded guy shows up, saying it's pathetic, humiliated by a goblin. What's this shame, Patton? The Annihilator? A goblin's just a monster not even worth fighting, so the whole guild starts closing in. Here comes the Brute Assassin, level 28, El Chama the Killer at level 30, and the Woman and Archer, level 27. Jihoon and that other assassin, the Speedmaster, also level 28. That goblin's gonna pay for messing with their guild. Things are getting more and more complicated. He knows his goblin isn't going to lose to these guys, but wiping out an entire guild, that's gonna be a huge headache. The guy tells everyone to chill out and says he'll handle this goblin himself. But the assassin warns that if he butts in, he's dead meat. Yeah, looks like there's absolutely no way to interfere in this fight. All he can do now is tell them that if a whole guild, a famous one at that, teams up just to take down a measly goblin, it's gonna make everyone in town look bad. But the goblin just keeps on attacking, and now he busts out his rock-throwing skill. That rock nails the Speedmaster right in the head, a direct hit, and it's a fatal blow. Everyone charges straight at that goblin, and he starts running off with the goblin. He had a max-level goblin and a future that was looking insanely bright. He thought his life in this game was going to be absolute paradise. Just like the name of the game, an old man opens the door and asks him to hide inside. And then he says he'll explain everything to him later. So he slips inside and the old man shuts the door. That's Selgrim, the crafty one, a level 26 warrior. He bursts out from inside yelling what that guy just said to everyone around. But what he'd actually said was that way leads straight to your funeral. As he's running, the system starts bombarding him with a bunch of notifications. The Goblin Lord is amazed at how sneaky he is, lowering the enemy's guard so the goblin can strike. Oh, you just earned a goblin point. First, he was called weak and cowardly, and now, in front of a goblin, he's sneaky too, and he knows he didn't actually do anything. What exactly makes him weak, cowardly, and sneaky anyway? All he did was get invited to a gathering party, and then out of nowhere, he gets betrayed and attacked. He starts getting fired up and tells the goblin he's sick and tired of being looked down on. Everyone just assumes he's another weakling. But from now on, he's going to wipe out the entire Avaton guild. With the help of his infinitely strong goblin, that guild keeps chasing after him, cutting across the rooftops of the houses. Honestly, that girl alone could easily handle that goblin. She doesn't even need Ranuk the Shadow. She can't let her guard down, and he knows it, bam! The Annihilator might have been the weakest one there, but that goblin took him out with a single blow. Suddenly, they stop when they hear some blood-curdling screams, and then, without a grip, the crafty one ends up falling from way up high. Knocked out, and behind him, he hears another scream, but this time, it's different. It's an insanely loud laugh right behind him, so he spins around and tries to slash the goblin. But wow, it did absolutely zero damage. Now he realizes that back then, it wasn't just his eyes playing tricks on him. That goblin is insanely strong, and things are looking really bad right now. He knows he's about to die, and that club is getting closer and closer. He crosses his daggers to try and block the goblin's blow. Everyone knows that kind of attack can't be stopped with just a couple of daggers. Something else blocked the hit for him. It was that woman firing arrows. She totally saved his skin. She tells him to run for it, because if he just stands there, that goblin's gonna finish him off. That girl is basically the bringer of death, and he thinks he's just up against some regular old goblin. How on earth can a low-rank monster like that dish out millions of damage? It's gotta be some kind of bug for sure. And then he starts activating his aura. An assassin skill pure, unfiltered evil. He really didn't want to use something like that. How unpleasant. Extreme Malice dropped his speed by about 90%, and now every single attack is a critical hit. The girl is totally confused. Why is he busting out a move like that on just a measly goblin? It eats up a ton of mana too. Check down to 280. He says that skill is also passive. But seriously, what kind of skill burns through half your mana? He switches to a reverse grip stance, holding the sword backwards, ninja style. That gives him a sweet 30% boost to attack damage, but it also slashes his crit rate by 50%. He's dead set on landing a whole string of critical hits. Now she finally gets what her friend is up to. He's determined to wrap this up as fast as possible. Before anyone can catch them, she fires up her own skill. Gale Arrows. After all, she doesn't want to get caught using flashy skill combos on a measly goblin either. Those Gale Arrows wipe out all movement speed debuffs for anyone in the area. He charges in, totally free of speed debuffs, rocking that 30% attack damage boost and an extra 20 points of crit chance. Alright, playtime's officially over. He zooms past the goblin at lightning speed. And the goblin, still just standing there. Check out how much damage the goblin took. 0. The guy is totally stunned. How is that even possible? He stares at the goblin's face. The goblin just grins. He knows he didn't even get scratched. And that crazy fast movement we're seeing, that's him getting launched straight into a wall. Taking infinite damage, too. Kim walks up. He asks, "So, who was it that said they'd take down this goblin with just one hit? Maybe they should save that talk for after they hit max level, am I right?" The girl is totally lost. She has no idea what just happened. How is that even possible? Wasn't that goblin supposed to be just a regular monster? Well, the goblin keeps on laughing, and our boy steps up and says he's the one who summoned this goblin. The girl still can't believe that goblin could possibly be just some ordinary monster. That's Rick, wielding the power of darkness. He was the strongest member of the Urbiton Guild and he got wiped out with a single blow. How can just a goblin have that much power? But honestly, that's none of her business. All she cares about right now is that he's absolutely furious with her. Completely defenseless, she asks what he wants, what they did to him, but she honestly has no clue. He gives her this super suspicious look and says it's all her fault for being so unbelievably irresistible. Oh, but she fires back, calling him a crazy pervert. The two get closer and she starts apologizing. After all, that's not what she meant, but he points out that it was her guild that attacked first. While the girl is screaming and crying, he tells Pro Goblin to go over there and make her stop yelling. Meanwhile, downstairs, some people hear the commotion. Yep, it's those same guys from before. Looks like everyone's here now. Meanwhile, the goblin is covering her mouth. Now everyone realizes that Goblin wiped out the entire Avidin Guild and is about to violate the last surviving woman. And they might just be the next ones to get messed with. Things are not looking good for this Goblin summoner. He was trying to get revenge on the Avidin Guild, but now he's in a really bad spot. He yells at Pro Goblin to stop and leave the woman alone. And everyone notices that this guy is yelling at the Goblin, even though he's just wearing beginner gear. Whoa, he's actually standing up to that monster, the one that took down the whole Avidin Guild. The Goblin stops and turns to face him. While the woman is sobbing, he starts crying too, begging the Goblin to stop. He keeps up the dramatic act and says, "That's it, it's over now." The people down below realize he's saying it's over for the Goblin now. Nobody knows who this guy is, but now they're all rooting for him. They want this guy to beat that Goblin and save the helpless girl everyone's cheering him on. Now he's totally confused. After all, everyone used to mock him, so if they're all cheering for him now, that must mean nobody knows that he's the one who summoned that Goblin. So he decides to play along and act the part. He jumps in front of the Goblin and says he doesn't want the Everton Guild to get hurt anymore. He's going to handle this Goblin. He tells the Goblin to let the woman go, while she's just standing there, totally lost. In his mind, it's game over for this Goblin. Now, he's a hero, yep, a real hero, risking his life to save a damsel in distress, and he even starts laughing, but tries to hide his face. Just look at our hero's face, but honestly, I think he's looking more like a villain right now. He turns to the woman and speaks in a low voice. If you don't want to die in agony like your friends, you'd better cooperate. All she can do is agree, so that's settled. He starts yelling at the Goblin, saying how dare he invade this village, being just a lowly monster, and bring so much suffering to all the people. And he's not going to allow any more Goblin atrocities, not on his watch. Now he activates that skill he picked up earlier. At the start, the skill is called Stroll with the Goblin, and suddenly a golden chain appears, binding the Goblin like a slave. He starts dragging the Goblin along while shouting that he's not going to forgive the atrocities this Goblin has committed. He leaps away, hauling the Goblin behind him. When he lands, he slams the Goblin's head right into the ground. With everyone watching, he just keeps on dragging that Goblin around. People start to realize that this monster chaining skill is seriously advanced. How could someone from a beginner town even use a skill like that? But he knows that this skill is really just a way for him to take the Goblin out for a walk. And then the system pops up a notification saying the Goblin's mood has improved thanks to the stroll. He starts yelling at everyone to stay back. After all, this monster is seriously dangerous. The girl, watching now, finally gets why that whole Avidin Guild got wiped out. His level is probably over 50. That means it wasn't that the Avidin Guild was weak, nobody there ever stood a chance. He knows he could never beat this Goblin, but with his skill, he can at least lure the Goblin far, far away. So, he activates his second skill, feeding the Goblin. He grabs that piece of grilled sausage and chucks it as far as he can. Saying that this will be his end, naturally, the Goblin dashes off to grab his food, while the Goblin chases after the snack. He shouts for the city gates to be closed right now, and just like that, the gates slam shut immediately. With the Goblin out there, yeah, the danger is really gone. And he starts pretending to be all innocent, asking if everyone's okay. People start cheering for him, shouting that he actually managed to lure the Goblin away, while he just feels super relieved. Now, that takes care of all the problems he had, right there. The girl comes up and says that everyone from the guild is dead, or they were transported back to the Resurrection Sanctuary on the sacred ground. And she's the only one who knows about his connection with the Goblin. The woman from before is still alive, but she's going to keep her promise. Yeah, looks like this woman is going to be pretty useful for him. He heard that on Pascal's sacred ground, people have infinite lives, and because of that, they're safe from both players and monsters. He flashes her a dazzling smile and says that if she doesn't keep her promise, he'll kill her and then just wait for her to respawn. At the Resurrection Sanctuary Spa, he'll kill her again and again and again on an endless loop. That's all he can promise if she doesn't stick to her word. I think just that look was enough, and she starts screaming, "No!" and everyone hears it a little while later, echoing through the fortress. He's lying there, totally chill, saying that wasn't really what he meant to do. But hey, as a reward for his good deed, he scored himself a sweet room. He's feeling pretty darn proud of himself. But should he really be that proud? He remembers that before he didn't have any power at all, and he knows that if he could have, he would have saved that pretty girl. But honestly, the only reason was just that, because she was super hot. Oh, and he almost forgot about the point the goblin got from that goblin lord. Kim Shunzin, Goblin Summoner. 1 point to pick that class just because he felt a weird sense of kinship with goblins. And now he gets a point just for being called sneaky. So he opens up this kind of skill shop. But every single ability is locked, so he's stuck with just one option. Then he spots a grouping function and activates the goblin skill, the regroup skill. Suddenly, the goblin pops up right in front of him, nose to nose. Only now does he realize that this skill is actually a summon your summon kind of ability. Oh man, if people find out they're together, things are gonna get messy. Especially for our hero here. Hearing a bunch of screams outside, people start to worry about him. One guy comes closer, knocks on the door, and asks if he's okay. He begs the goblin, for the love of God, to keep quiet if he doesn't want to get killed, and he apologizes for earlier too. Even though he didn't actually do anything, things still got pretty complicated. He lies down next to his cute little goblin and thinks that this creature is just like him. He scoots closer to the goblin, gives him a hug, and says this world is full of idiots. So after that, he heads to a bar where the whole guild is hanging out. There, a few people even recognize him as the guy who saved a member of the Urbiton Guild. The place is packed, and his goblin isn't there to protect him. The guy thanks him. After all, there was absolutely no reason for him to save them back there, since he had already left. Of course, before he was their enemy too. Even though that guy is saying thanks, his stare is absolutely deadly. He asks girls not to be so suspicious. It's obvious this guy isn't going to fight us. Meanwhile, she's thinking that Goblin isn't around right now, and everyone's just getting played by him. Oh boy, just like he said. The reason he helped out, even after they tried to kill him, is because there's something he needs. Yep, just like he figured. Now that Everton Guild totally owes him one. So what does he need? Unfortunately, even though he can farm like crazy in this starter area, he can't level up anymore. Now he's hit his max at level 30. He wants to get to the next zone as fast as possible. And they totally get it. The wants to head to Fiorendel. All he needs is someone who knows how to get him there. The old man says he knows how to get there, but our guy's pretty sure this geezer is up to something sneaky. He grabs the old man by the sleeve, and suddenly the old guy starts apologizing for real, guessing that he must have taken down that goblin all by himself. This dude must be seriously strong, maybe even stronger than everyone else put together. Patton puts his hand on his head, all frustrated, but he knows there's nothing he can do, while Kim totally knows what's up. He's not actually stronger than anyone here. And if that guy had attacked him yesterday, he would have been toast in just one hit, just like he promised. Anyway, that beginner area is known for being super chill, and it's got about 5 regular dungeons. The first one is the grassy field where the slimes pop up. And the second one? He knows that place like the back of his hand, the mining zone. Then there's the third, the dark forest zone. Those dungeons? He can jump in whenever he wants, they're open to everyone. But here's the catch. If he wants to leave that beginner zone, he's got to beat a raid dungeon, which is a whole different beast from the regular ones. Unlike the open dungeons, raid dungeons have gates that open and close at certain times. But don't get it twisted, those times aren't random. They've got strict time limits and a set number of tries, just like the final dungeon at the end of an area. It's the kind of thing you only want to tackle after you've leveled up a bunch. Suddenly, some guy stands up and says that the hide dungeon only opens once a month. And that's exactly why everyone's gathered here. Now, he finally gets why the whole crowd is here. Yesterday was the one day that dungeon opened, but that damn goblin ruined everything. Now, unfortunately, it's a waiting game until next time. Hide. They're all stuck here now. He remembers raking in 200 million from the bounties on an 80-level monster, and he knows his goblin could easily wipe out all the toughest dungeons. Looks like he's stuck in this city for another month. He can't make any more money now. He tugs on the guy's cloak, asking if there's any other way. Even though everyone's stressed out about this waste of time, there's really nothing anyone can do. He pulls the cloak back and says the debt's been paid, so now they're leaving. As they head out, the girl sneaks a glance back while he just keeps on walking. While he's still lost in thought, the tavern is already closing up. Everyone's outside, but he's still in there. The goblin was lurking nearby, hidden, watching everything unfold, grinning every time we looked his way. You spot that goblin is grinning, and that's when he gets spooked and realizes something's up in that forest. The ride boss system kicks in, and everyone gets notifications. Not even Farhan was supposed to have another ride for at least 30 days. Everything they wanted just happened. The system just kicked off its ride boss, and he saw that notification too, but it freaked him out. Yeah, for real, the portal actually opened, all in just one day. Everyone's there staring at that open portal, but also kinda in disbelief that the boss's radio actually opened up. One guy asks how many people are inside. Turns out, looks like there's nobody in there. The ones who were ready already cleared it yesterday and moved on to the next region. So, that means it's just them now. Who's the one already saying they knew it? He knew they were going to lie to him. He should have caught on when they said that. The portal would only open in a month, which means these guys totally betrayed him just so they could get into the portal first. And now they think he's a total idiot. But this is all just a big misunderstanding. They'd never do something like that. Then another one comes up and asks if he's going in or not. Of course he's going. Or does he really think he's just going to stand there and watch while they get filthy rich in there? Oh man, alright, fine. So here's the plan, he's going to lay it all out before they head in there. There's just one room, and it leads straight to the boss room of that dungeon. In other words, you'll run into the boss the second you step inside. So everyone better be ready. But he doesn't really think it'll be dangerous, since he's a lower level than they are. I mean, the old guy's level 26 and the girl's level 27. As long as you're careful, nothing bad's gonna happen. Patton, the level 28 Annihilator, says that Dungeon Boss is gonna be a piece of cake even without the Guildmaster around. This whole thing is gonna take less than 10 minutes. Everyone charges toward the portal, shouting their battle cry. But the last guy, he's got this super mischievous grin on his face. And as they rush into the portal, who's keeping their goblin hidden? It's going to be tough to deal with them once they realize that Goblin is with him, so he decides to leave the goblin there until he calls for it. He knows any one of these guys could stab him in the back without a second thought. But he's still got an advanced healing stone, which can bring him back to life with 100 HP when he hits 0. Wait, I thought he'd already used that thing. Well, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. He's the last one to jump through the portal, and once he's on the other side, he realizes, oh snap, that's a raid boss. He spots a level 40 Iron Giant barreling after that team. Now he realizes that this dungeon is actually a hidden dungeon, the Iron Giant's lair. One of the guys asks the sly old man what he's scheming this time, but for once, he's not plotting anything at all. The girl tells him to just run straight for the gate, but he starts grinning, thinking she's just messing with him. He puts on this total psycho face and starts yelling that they're actually trying to run away from a hidden dungeon. Everyone knows those dungeons hand out insane rewards, but everyone also knows that this guy is level 40. Well, dying isn't the end of the world. If they get smacked by that monster, he says the level gap is only 10. But seriously, will they actually die in real life? Maybe they'll just cough up a little blood and pass out? He admits that scoring awesome rewards isn't exactly a walk in the park. While everyone else is running for their lives, he stares the giant down and declares he's going to snag all the loot for himself. He fires up his scary face skill and uses Goblin Summon Regroup. Meanwhile, the goblin on the other side is just chilling, stargazing like nothing's happening. He's not doing anything and he's not feeling a thing. In other words, he's just standing there in front of a giant, yelling his head off, calling the goblin over to him. That Iron Giant lands a punch right in the middle of his ugly mug. And that punch, oh, it was gentle, only did 4879 damage. Yeah, sadly, King bit the dust. The others are just thinking this guy is a total idiot. Did he really fight that goblin yesterday or what? Nobody cares, because whatever's coming is about to happen to this guy. The real deal right now is that only raid dungeons close up fast. And this one, it's supposed to be a hidden dungeon. They totally underestimated this place. A raid can pop up in hidden dungeons too, just like in regular dungeons. They can change up pretty often. Now it's 4 against 3, and the red giant is getting ready to smash everyone. Meanwhile, our boy in the real world is starting to cry. He starts yelling, saying he died from just one hit. Even though he's over level 30, he knows that monster was level 40, but still, own single attack did him in. Remember, he had 26 attribute points and hadn't used any of them. Looks like he totally forgot about that part. Well, our boy is just so smart, right? So anyway, I can't summon the goblin because the portal closed, and he was so close, the treasure was right in front of him. Ugh, that wretched goblin. Looks like he's about to lose all his loot. Poor guy. He starts yelling out the guild's name and says the hunt is about to begin. So our boy wakes up from his eternal slumber, and the archer girl starts showing off her wind arrow skill. Now, every single team member has their movement speed doubled. The sly old man tells them to use this speed buff to find the monster's weakness first. No matter how tough an enemy is, they'll never be able to react in time to any move from G1. The two of them leap straight at that monster, and from the monster's point of view, they look just like tiny mosquito monsters. The monster starts roaring, and for some reason, I couldn't help but think of Nasus at that moment. The Bringer of Death activated his skill, unleashing a flurry of slashes. Every monster has at least one weakness. That skill lets him land 16 slashes in a row, which means there'll be 32 cuts tearing up the whole body. And with that, they can easily figure out that monster's weak spot. After the attack, dust rises and the monster lets out a roar, but the attack did 0 damage. How is that even possible? So that means there are only two options. Either this guy's defense is insanely high, or weak attacks just don't work. The monster winds up for a right hook, but he dodges it with ease and runs up the monster's arm all the way to its head. Then he lands a critical hit using his unbeatable sword skill. Turns out, he was right. Smaller attacks just don't work. Now, the giant metal monster is sitting at 28,200 HP out of 3,000, and it just activated its Hatred for the Weak ability. Any attack that deals less than 5% of its max HP and damage gets totally nullified. That's Nuke, from the Darkness, has the only one in that raid. The only member of that team who can dish out that kind of damage against a level 40 monster. But the old man, he totally disagrees. Completely. There's someone even stronger, who can deal even more damage depending on the circumstances. And that someone is none other than Nuke, the Bearer. She's got the arrow skill, Wielder of the Supreme Darkness, which uses her HP to draw the bowstring. The more of her life she uses, the bigger the damage gets. Well, the developers of this game are definitely a quirky bunch. The guy starts saying that if she needs time to charge up her energy, he'll buy her as much time as she needs. So he fires up his skill war cry, which grabs the monster's attention. Now the monster's got a new target. Its goal is that guy, and now it's totally locked onto him. Meanwhile, Kim, notice that guy is pulling the monster just toward himself. He really should be running for his life, honestly. The monster slams the ground with a ridiculously powerful blow, shattering everything, but that tank manages to block it with his sword, and it only took off 1038 HP. He actually thought this monster would be stronger for this plan to work. Let's go! Don't let your guard down. The old man whips out his hammer from his back, telling everyone they can't afford to make any mistakes. Part of the damage he took actually went to the old man. Because he had his shared pain skill activated, it splits the damage with another target, and the one with more HP takes the bigger hit. But who knows, maybe they don't even have a high enough level, not even in a hidden class. While the two of them keep the monster busy, the assassin class warriors are going to totally shred its defense with their passive skills. And the first assassin skill they pop is Weakness Elimination. It drops the enemy's defense by 2%, and every attack has a chance to lower it by another 1%. You can stack it up to 5 times. That team is super strong and really well organized. I'm actually starting to believe they might pull off a win. That's how a real guild operates. If he doesn't get up soon, they're totally going to take down the boss without him. And if he's dead, he won't get any experience or rewards at all. The monster's about to throw another left hook at Patton. But then, for our beloved warrior Patton, he has no idea that the monster actually stopped attacking. And now it's staring off somewhere else. Yep, the monster's locked onto another player as its target. The giant just smacks the guy. Meanwhile, Kim gets back on his feet, totally determined not to let any more losers fight. He's gonna jump in and help, since he's the highest level around. But, let's be real, everyone knows he's only got 100 HP left. Right now, it's never too late for a protagonist to shine. The Iron Giant has now picked Kim Chunsu as its brand new target. And now it's roaring and unleashing its area damage skill, completely pulverizing that whole surface. And all those assassins who were just wailing on it, yeah, they're toast. Their plan was going great, but they never expected that jerk to come back to life so soon. Now why didn't this guy revive earlier, huh? The monster's attack completely wiped out those assassins, and Patton was left terrified, staring at his fallen allies scattered on the ground. Now that guy is absolutely furious. He's dead set on taking down this monster, but the old man tells him to chill out and keep his guard up. He charges at the monster and decides to use his warrior skill giant slash right at the monster's back. But before he can finish his move, the monster spins around and smacks him, dealing 3890 damage. But he wasn't the only one who took the hit. The old man got whacked for 2456 damage too. Sadly, all that cunning went down the drain. Patton the Annihilator is dead. His buddy Grill, the crafty old man, is also toast. Whoever's yelling, it's not his fault. All he did there was just bring someone back to life. The only assassin who managed to survive was the Shadow Bearer. He knows that monsters always go after healers and long-range attackers first, not the tanks. The only reason the monster went after Pat in the tank was because he used his taunt skill. When that player got revived, the monster stopped targeting the tank and went straight for the assassins. Unfortunately, they didn't even get a chance to react. Not even the tanks could do anything. Well, now there are only 2 left. What are they going to do now, huh? Is she going to shoot now? Girls, the bringer of death has only 46 HP left. One of the assassins tells her to keep it together. If she shoots now, the whole plan's going to fall apart. They didn't manage to fully stack the assassin's passive. They only racked up 3 points. That's just not going to be enough to take down this monster in one go. All that's going to do is pile up even more bodies. He charges forward, telling her not to cancel her ability, no matter what happens. If she doesn't land a single solid attack, they won't stand a chance of winning. So that's exactly what she does. She keeps building up even more power. But holding that position is seriously draining her. Meanwhile, he's wondering if there's actually anything he can do to help. She shoots him a look and tells him to zip it, that he can't do anything without his little goblin. And she adds that he is nothing but a mere nuisance. Now, whoa, he's totally stunned by what she just said. Why is she looking at him like that? Is it because he doesn't have his goblin anymore? He's got a whole bunch of traumas from his life. People always said everything was his fault anyway, but he knows that because of them, he couldn't bring his goblin along. Now, he starts shifting the blame onto them, and they're the real culprits. Even though this guy is super weak, she's acting like she has no choice but to rely on him. Yep, that's right, so he's got a plan. He's going to let them suffer all the way to each of their deaths. While he's daydreaming about his brilliant plan, the Iron Giant now locks onto the Deathbringer as its target. Everything's going exactly the way that assassin planned. He's going to prioritize long-range damage. But his real opponent here is himself, not that girl, and he charges straight at the giant. In a super risky move, he activates the Blade Fury skill and lands a blow right on the goblin's neck, dealing 1920 damage. But the giant just keeps on roaring. That hit was nothing to him, but the combo isn't over yet. He pushes off the wall and jumps thinking he's all about that power, and uses the Twin Blade Fury skill again, dealing 1908 damage. Now he pushes off the ceiling and dishes out another 1912 damage, yelling that the other way to change the aggro is just to deal as much damage as possible. Now he realizes that after landing 3 critical hits, the boss is going to see him as a real threat. The Iron Giant has now locked onto Hell Nuke of the Shadows as its target. That giant now has 22,460 HP left, and even though the weak spot only has 3 stacks, that attack should have done the trick. All this guy wants to do now is buy some time for that archer. He pops his quick evasion skill, and for the next 3 seconds, he dodges every single physical attack. And just as he says, "These next 3 seconds are mine," the system tells him he doesn't have enough mana to use that skill. Oh man, that was the perfect chance for the giant to make his move. So, the giant punches that assassin, sending him flying, and Kim watches as the assassin, Hell Nuke Nuke, dies right under his feet. Kim starts yelling that they're just a bunch of idiots, way too overconfident. He should have just stayed dead. He really shouldn't have bothered coming back to life. The girl with the bow thinks he can't be serious, since she's stuck there lugging around that huge bow. As the one who brought himself back and messed everything up. So this girl is saying those idiots would have been beaten if he hadn't revived. But come on, obviously they would have. In just 10 seconds, that monster would have been flat on the ground, easy as pie. He'd rather everyone had died than watch them get a reward without him. While they're arguing, the monster charges in, and all they can do now is scream. It lunges forward and locks onto the woman as its target. She says now's really not the time to be pointing fingers at anyone. Unfortunately, she didn't fully load her weapon, and that's going to be her one and only shot. While she's getting ready to fire, he's fiddling with his system, and she's like, "What the heck is this guy doing?" But he just grins and asks a question. "Yeah, looks like you can't move while you're reloading, huh?" Oh boy, her mind's in the gutter. She's thinking this guy's about to pull something naughty and begs him not to come any closer. But then, he scoops her up, throws her onto his back, and takes off running. He says, "You said you needed 10 more seconds." And just like that, he dodges the giant's attack. The girl just can't believe it. How can this guy be as fast as the infamous Dark Nick? Those 26 attribute points he had earlier, he dumped them all into agility. After all, even an assassin wouldn't normally put every single point into agility. He's not an assassin. But his speed, it's off the charts, like literally a 1. And that little argument they just had, it scored him 1 goblin point. And you guys know, that's all he ever gets. Whenever he does something totally inhuman, he realizes that blasted Goblin Lord is basically telling him he's doing it wrong. During that whole debate, his skill finally finished charging up, and now, it's time to fire away. While he's sprinting, he shouts to shoot, but aiming at that speed, yeah, not exactly a walk in the park. And if she misses, game over. As she lines up her shot, he's already saying he wants everything he spent back with 100 times the interest. That's all for the blood he lost and that fancy advanced healing stone. That guy's speed is insane. He's zipping around the monster so fast, it's like he's whipping up a tornado. The monster's spinning in circles trying to spot him, but nope, no luck. The monster starts smashing everything around, hoping to catch him somehow, but it's a total fail. Then he leaps right onto the giant's back. And the woman, she busts out her archer skill, a straight-up death arrow. Now that fight should have ended right there, but the giant? Oh, he's not about to take the L just yet. He activates his special move. It's a world-shattering area attack. He slams the ground with all his might, smashing everything in sight and sending rocks flying everywhere. At this point, they realize the giant had been hiding this trick up his sleeve the whole time, and this attack, it hits in every direction. Now the archer's down to just 1% health. And because he got revived earlier, he's only got 100 HP left too. In other words, if they even get grazed, it's game over. She keeps trying to aim, but there's just way too much debris everywhere. At this rate, there's no way she's going to land a hit. Then he starts saying his mind is showing him something. She thinks maybe it's some kind of solution. Nope, it's not. It's just memories of when he used to play with his friends, like his whole life is flashing before his eyes. Then something starts to materialize. A pair of hands with huge green claws appears, and it's none other than our buddy, the goblin, with almost infinite damage. And then he starts yelling, "Why did this guy take so long?" It's been almost a month since he yelled regroup, and this guy still hadn't shown up. While the girl tries to wrap her head around what she's seeing, it looks like that monster actually damaged the dungeon space itself just to get in. Is that even possible? A secret move. And there it is. The goblin himself being used as a shield, blocking some of the debris that was about to hit the girls. And it did 0 damage. The monster roars at him, dead set on sending them all to their graves, while he just stands there grinning. Ah, the last words of a final dungeon boss, so beautiful and so loud. And he starts smiling, saying, "Now's the time." At first, I couldn't figure out why this guy had been grinning ever since that woman climbed on top of him. Now I get it, it's all because of those thick thighs, squishing his head, no doubt about it. And now, it's time for the grand finale. The girl lets her arrow fly, landing a whopping 24 damage. The shock from that power was absolutely massive. She nailed the creature right in the chest, the arrow blasting straight through and leaving nothing but a gaping hole. All that was left was a lifeless body, still standing for a moment, but it quickly toppled over. Yeah, congrats. You just beat the hidden dungeon, the Iron Giant's Chamber? But she still can't believe how they managed to pull off that win. And hey, she even leveled up from 27 all the way to 31. He set her down and leapt away, leveling up too, by the way, from 31 to 34. And now, all he wants is to get his hands on that sweet reward, ASAP. After taking down the boss, everyone who was part of the raid gets revived. Yep, looks like everyone's okay. But the tank can still taste blood in his mouth. If that monster had been any higher level, they would have been in serious trouble. But the sneaky guy? Yeah, he's not doing so hot. Ugh, this always happens to him. Just give him a little smack and he'll be back to normal. Just like those old tube TVs at home. Well, now that everyone's alright, they can finally explain what actually went down. But this guy's over there, grabbing all the loot, telling everyone to back off. Why is this dude suddenly acting all weird? The girl says that since they finished the quest, he leveled up. While he was grabbing that reward, a system message popped up saying she didn't meet the requirement for the Rokuta class. Looks like everything she did just wasn't enough. He figures that, just like they completed the advancement requirement for the class. By earning the goblin's favor, they might not level up unless they clear certain conditions inside that hidden dungeon. Once they complete the conditions, they can advance without even having to beat the boss. And on top of that, they can take down the boss after snagging the hidden class. That just seems like the most natural order of things. But he's super curious to find out what that class actually is. Still, there's no point in overthinking it. Right now anyway. Am I right? So now all he's got to do is grab the reward that's been left behind. And as he's doing that, people start coming back to life. The girl starts reminding him that the two of them were the ones who took down the monster. But hey, everyone fought together. And obviously, the right thing to do would be to split the rewards, but what exactly is there to split here? This woman's nuts if she thinks I'm gonna share these rewards. No way, get out of here. This is all mine. He strokes his reward and starts calling it his precious. It's way too precious to share. What is this now, Lord of the Rings? The guy tells him to just keep his reward, since this is already the second time he's helped out today. But then the old man comes over and activates his sneaky skill, saying he told them they needed to take this guy down. And he starts yelling, telling everyone to shove it where the sun doesn't shine. And he says he knew every single one of them would do that. They were going to betray him twice. But if they really wanted to take him down, he wouldn't be any trouble at all. Now all that's left there is 3 dented pieces of iron, 1 pure iron, and a single one-of-a-kind item. The great bow of the Iron Giant. But it's not even a file or anything. What's he supposed to do with this stuff? He knows that too. So he figures he can't sell these unique items, and he can't use them either. Unless it's for a specific class. But even so, this guy still wants that bow, because he thinks everyone's got one. The assassin tells him to stop being so greedy and just give the bow to the girl. Oh, he grins, thinking he'll hand over the bow to her, but in return, he wants something really valuable, too. If you know what I mean, that's the kind of item you can't trade, so it's literally priceless. And if he claims that item, they'll have no choice but to buy his. Wow, this guy is seriously greedy. The only reason he's put up with everything so far is just to sell this item. He looks at that guy's grinning face and realizes he looks just like that goblin. Meanwhile, our little goblin monster is just over there, hiding out, because now they're all on the same team. Alright then, problem solved. The girl grabs the bow, but it looks way too heavy for her. Now, she's got the giant iron bow and tradable, and only for archers. While our boy is saying thanks for the trade, the assassin chimes in, saying he's got a natural talent for being hated. But hey, where's this guy gonna go after all this, huh? Oh come on, isn't it obvious? He's heading somewhere without strong folks like them. The Everton Guild decides to leave, and man, even after everything that girl went through because of this guy, she still looks back at him with the sweetest, most charming smile. And just like that, it's done. Kenshuzo has completed the Bozogota raid. Even though he lost that one-of-a-kind bow, he ended up with something way better. A consumable item, thief's gloves. They can steal absolutely anything, but only once. And get this, he can even snatch stuff from someone who's got more levels than him. Sadly, you can't use it against another player, so he grabs a raw iron stone thinking, man, not too long ago, I was just a humble miner. I know everything there is to know about ore. And these fools? They're so obsessed with that unique item, they didn't even notice the real treasure right under their noses. That's all he needed. 3 dented irons and 1 pure iron. These guys betrayed him twice. Now they're about to witness Renfrey Irene at the Phoenix Bazaara place, packed with players, all decked out and clearly grinding like crazy. Oh, he can practically smell the money from miles away in that city. But first things first, he's got to pay off his debt and then upgrade his gear. Because he got one-shotted fighting that monster. 9 levels lower than him, by the way. But he knows he was wearing armor. Total trash, you only needed to be level 3 to equip it, and it actually gave him -1 defense. Yeah, he'd be better off just tossing it out. I mean, imagine putting on armor that actually makes you weaker. While he's lost in thought, the goblin starts tugging at him, but he tells the goblin not to cause any more trouble. Well, would you look at that? Speaking of trouble, check out the size of that cat. That thing's a monster huge. How do you have a monster? Seriously, a boss monster just strolling through here? But sitting on top of that giant cat is a girl with blue hair. She says she's never seen anyone summon a goblin before. Her name's Irene. She's a level 76 summoner, and she asks if that monster over there is one of his summons. If someone's riding it, that must mean this monster is just a summon too. She tells him not to be scared, because this monster is super gentle, and its name is Micheller. Maybe she's Michelle. But honestly, just look at that cat's face. I think he should be scared anyway, especially since it's drooling all over the place. He knows that girl is seriously strong, he doesn't even need to fight her to figure that out. But come on, trust the level. Level 76 is actually pretty weak, even for the Everton Guild. Most guilds don't even stand a chance against her. She starts doting on her cat. While she's asking for his name, he introduces himself as Kim Chuzu, but she was actually asking for the goblin's name. Wait, has he still not managed to give his creature a name? Still? But seriously, who even cares about monster names? That girl even called a goblin cute. If he keeps treating his creature like this, he's never going to get attached to it. She asked him to take a look at his summon. It took on an aggressive stance for its master even though he hasn't bothered to give it a name. Just listen first, then protect me. She says she's leaving, and next time, she hopes Hell have finally given his goblin a name. He thanks her for the advice, and apologizes for not thinking of it sooner. This guy still thinks there's no need to name a goblin, and honestly, they don't seem to mind at all. Sometime later, Hez at an equipment shop. The guy's getting his gear appraised, and they finish checking out his equipment, and he says everything is crap. It's nothing but trash. Speaking of trash, using a garbage bag would be better. That's the NPC, Humphrey the Filthy Mouth. Yup, but hey, that's exactly why he came to buy something better. He offers a tough iron breastplate for 350 converted to dollars. That's about 40 bucks. He knows he's got a strong summon, but if even 3 guys gang up on him in his current state, he's toast. So he really needs to invest in defense, and he decides to buy a chest plate. Filthy Mouth says he can spot good gear, and that one was made with the highest quality iron possible. And he didn't make it for suckers like him to use. Wow, the name fits this foul-mouthed vendor perfectly. Our boy puts on the armor and realizes he can't even move an inch. Filthy Mouth says that's exactly why people like him are better off standing still. Our boy's strength is only 4. The armor seems way too heavy for him, because you need at least 24 strength to wear it. And, as everyone knows, he dumped all his points into agility, but he bought it before even trying it on. The guy asks if he wants to sell it back. He checks it again and says he'll pay about 30 for it. But our boy had just bought it for 350. Oh man, he's getting scammed by a mere NPC. Then the Filthy Mouth NPC gets an idea. He asks our boy to wait and starts looking for his hammer without the hammerhead. He can't forge a thing, but that table over there is packed with hammers of all shapes and sizes too. He grabs a hammer and says his real hammer is in the dungeon, the underground tunnel right at the village entrance. And he asks our guy to fetch it and bring it back to him. Well, that kicks off a quest. Humphrey's problem is that, while the hammer forged by Humphrey, the reward lets him process materials to craft armor. Yeah, so this is definitely a quest. That's why those hidden boss material items were so ridiculously expensive. Now, in his mind, everything clicks into place. If he can process those items, he'll be able to make some truly extraordinary gear. So that guy means his hammer is down in the underground canal, right? And he's decided to take on that quest. Unlike before, this time, he doesn't have to worry about anyone else. No more party members. In other words, he's going to blaze through this quest, probably wrap it up in under half an hour. While he's lost in thought, he hears someone yelling. The foul-mouthed guy shouts at him to grab the hammer. Now, if he fails the quest, he's toast hell die. Oh man, I don't think he's going alone. No way. A mission where his own life's on the line, and he's supposed to trust a guy who can't even hold up a suit of armor? No chance. He's definitely tagging along. And that's all there is in this story. I dug around a ton trying to find the rest, but nope, couldn't find it. Hope you all enjoyed it. I sure did, and I can't wait to see more. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more chapters. Thanks for watching, and stick around for the next video.
The system revealed the search condition. There's something strange in the air, man. Jumply seemed pretty annoyed. If the fool died, the mission would be ruined. And without even thinking, our hero got worried, wondering what was really going on with this chase. Inside, he was at an impasse. Dying would be a disaster, and he still had to drag around this level 13 deadweight. The mission was just getting more complicated. And this whole thing was unexpected. Suddenly, the guy started yelling, asking what the protagonist was looking at. He couldn't stall any longer. No pointless worries. Let me deal with my own problems. The poor guy frowned right away, wondering how he gotten himself into this. He thought, how was I supposed to do this? He'd put all his points into agility. Now he had to run, but not from the monsters. He went straight for the boss and set off without hesitation. He took off running, calculations racing through his mind. After all, he already knew how this escort mission worked. He thought about using that to get rid of that fool at the entrance. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Jumply was under attack. Yeah, his plan went out the window. Poor guy was paralyzed, like he'd been frozen. Jumply was surrounded by zombie monsters and slimes. He growled that he was big, and who would dare challenge him? The protagonist then quickly shouted, calling his goblin, who came running like a hurricane. He shouted, and with his stick flying, he hit Jumply in the face and wreaked havoc on the horde of monsters, and all those monsters were quickly destroyed. The goblin let out a sinister chuckle as we see monster remains scattered across the floor. Jumply, full of himself, said, as expected, right? Nothing can stand against him, but Kinshasu said that something was approaching. Yeah, they really are going to be in danger. He turned around with a look like, wow, now we're in trouble. Then he grabbed his hammer and charged forward. Kinshasu was super frustrated. He wanted to put an end to that guy. How annoying, how infuriating. Running without the slightest caution, he then considered his options, and maybe the best one would be to let the goblin handle it and go straight for the boss. Yeah, that seemed like a good idea. To get away from the goblin and all the monsters in the way, was that really the only way? He quickly called his goblin over to change the plan. Now they're going to face the entire horde of monsters head on. Just move forward. That's when he came across hordes of rats, monsters blocking the way. These rats had the nerve to steal Jumply's hammer at the bazaar. Now they'll see. Kinshasu had to wipe them all out, so he let out a shout saying he was about to show his secret technique. Goblin 99 charged forward. He was crushing the rats with overwhelming force. Jumply swung the hammer with all his might and ended up a bit dizzy from the effort, yelling like a madman. It had been ages since he went all out like that. As we watched the goblin, he made it through the raid with that move. The poor guy shouted that it was awesome, but it was going to take longer than he thought. Well, but this plan is a lot safer. That old rascal wasn't going to die easily. Noticing Kinshasu laughing at him, he immediately made fun of him. He replied that he wasn't joking before he was a blacksmith. Jumply was a well-respected warrior, a shady level 13 NPC who had the shout ability, which would shake up the monsters when activated. Jumply shouted at the filthy rats, shaking everything around, and he claimed that his roar could even awaken ancient souls. Then, right in front of him, several skeletons appeared, along with the level 35 skeleton king, and several other skeletons ranging from level 31 to 33. They were already ready for a fight, and that's when he got what he wanted. Now he had awakened all the monsters in that place. They could have finished things quickly, but this idiot woke everyone up. Now he just had to deal with it as fast as possible. Our protagonist was really angry with him. That was the last time he would put up with this nonsense. The goblin spun a stone on his finger and then crushed it, shouting, "Quia!" And he threw it toward the enemy. If he does that again, someone is gonna get hurt. 3 hours later, that was a whole different story. Kim Chusu was completely helpless. The old man only knew how to mess everything up. Facing this old man was more like taking on a quest in a hidden dungeon. The system announced that Jumply was still alive. Kim Chusu, Goblin Summoner level 34, now increased to level 37, and suddenly Chusu leaned against the wall and heard a noise. What was that noise? Jumply immediately started yelling at them to get out of there, saying it was a trap. Then suddenly a flash of light lit up everything. 3 arrows were fired. Terrified, Chusu clung to the goblin. Luckily, the goblin blocked the arrows. Jodu pulled the trigger that set off the trap, and the response was immediate. Jumply had stepped on a mechanism, an arrow hit him in the chest, and his health dropped drastically. Now cursing up a storm, Jumply started swearing at all the henchmen of that level 33 skeleton. Then the vein on Kilson's forehead started throbbing immediately. The system notified that Jumply was poisoned. His health dropped from 180 to 20, then it fell to 0 and Jumply died. Unfortunately, the scene cuts to the next act. Kilson died like a madman, screaming that he would get revenge. He was going to kill the hammer master again, even though Jumply was already at the foot of the rock. His screams drew attention. He was watching everything from above. "I finally found you, Kenchuzu." He stopped at the forge, calling out to Rumply. Rumply, a bit scared, asked what was going on with his team. Seeing Chuzu, Gabo made some noises. "What kind of trash is this?" Chuzu smiled like, "Nope, those are your last words." Jumply replied that he was solid, thanking him for his hammer. Casting was in shot. After all, that's a good thing. Then the system pop-up showed that the mission was a complete success. Rumply started shouting that he got his hammer and also a lot of materials to make new equipment. Castle said the hammer had finally arrived. Jumply was so happy that he was even cracking jokes, but he didn't notice when the zombies appeared. Chuzu felt offended by that guy's question. Jumply, the foul-mouthed one, raised his tone right away as he said he needed to tell him something. And he's no good, you get it? The foul-mouthed one then turned to the forge, which was blazing, stoking the flames, and started talking a bunch of nonsense. The quality of the equipment depends on the blacksmith's sweat. He hammered away at the pure blazing steel with a scowl on his face. The best materials are reborn in the hands of the best blacksmiths. For real, oh man. He let out a satisfied sigh and said that this was pure luxury. Kim Chusu was watching, saying there wasn't a drop of sweat there. It seems his experiment was a complete failure. The foul-mouthed one complained that that's why things are like this. But Kim equipped it and was shocked. Was this for real? Made from extremely rare materials hidden in the secret boss's caves. This was the first rare armor. Everyone went crazy. The system detailed the blue steel armor, level 36, durability 24. It can trigger a collapse when it takes damage. Rumply got serious, not charging this time, and told our hero not to thank him too much. After all, it's a bit of a buzzkill. Was he going to do that anyway? The system then kicked in right on time. PK mode activated. Chuzo instinctively sensed a murderous intent. He dodged an attack from behind and shouted, "Why are you attacking me?" The guy was surprised that he managed to dodge that strike. "Exactly, you almost killed her. He leveled up his skill, man. But that was it." He remembered it well. Carson shouted immediately, "What are you talking about? Who is she?" Ju put on a face pretending not to understand. The last person he teamed up with was Kim Chusu, and you act like you don't know Catherine. Morty landed another blow and Kim kept struggling. If that's the case, Catherine was in a panic. There was a mage with that name in the mines. Wait, she couldn't believe it. She was the victim who betrayed him. That snake. She was the one who mocked him. Man, she's living her life just fine, acting like her mind is in a spiral. But it seems like the trauma is real. He knew he had gone too far, but is everything really his fault? He shouted that it wasn't. The blame was on Regier. He absolved himself of any responsibility. Ju killed the mood instantly. No, it's him. That wasn't his decision. Because of her condition, the air is still yang and the corporation's position is also a complete mess. So the guy took a swing at Yuzu, but it was pointless. After all, he kept smiling. Now the conversation has to start from the beginning. The president's daughter is in bad shape. Phones, semiconductors, and more. It wasn't just any group of companies, it was one of the biggest in the South. And to succeed, all you had to do was get hired. But the president's daughter was lying unconscious in the hospital. So when Ju found out, she shouted, "Wait, are you saying she was attacked by a level 80 monster?" For sure, that must have been way too much of a shock for her, and apparently because of that she won't wake up. Ju looked confused. But how did he get out of there? Because he was level 3, right? And she was almost level 40. And she didn't survive either. Everyone fell silent. It just didn't make sense. And the words quickly hit Chuzu. He started to stammer as he said he changed classes purely by luck, but she knew that she was the one who should have gotten that class. Deep down, Chuzu took a breath and said it was a joke. The best doctors working 24 hours a day, and still, this was the result. Imagine if he had been in their place, a long way in the public health system wouldn't have changed anything. Ju was still looking on with suspicion. The level 3 player switched to a hidden class and made it out alive. From what she heard, hidden classes aren't some kind of invincibility trick. Our boy scratched his head and changed the subject, asking what the chances were of her waking up. And it seems the chances are pretty low. Ju gave a serious look as he said that she was still alive, just unconscious. The doctors did everything they could, but the answer was always the same. Nobody knows why she won't wake up, and there's nothing more they can do. So basically, Chuzu, the only thing left to do is wait for her to come back. He even had a half-crazy idea pop into his head, but he decided to share it. Maybe they could use the same thing that caused her condition to try to help her. Everyone was curious. He started to explain that he once read in a foreign article about someone who had a collapse, someone who was forcibly disconnected from a virtual reality game. He lost consciousness in the real world, while everyone, his whole family, had already lost hope. But then, something happened, and apparently he came to in the game. At heaven's door, that's what he said. He made a small dramatic pause and said that the odds were incredibly low, like 1 in 10 million. Was this guy giving false hope to people who had nothing left to hold on to? After all, he had already deceived everyone once, and he held her hand while Jiu remained impressively calm. But instead of just standing still, he stayed there counting the seconds, waiting for her to wake up on her own. But the tension in the air was almost palpable. Jiu stood there staring at her as if he were in a trance. He analyzed every movement of her face, trying to figure out what was going on. Her gaze alone left the protagonist's stomach in knots. Extremely nervous, it was just a change in her expression, but it felt like a major event. Catherine was paralyzed as if time had stopped. Her expression was beautiful, but completely empty, poor thing. And he didn't know what to do. Inside, our gentleman hero was thinking he just couldn't believe it. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was hard to believe the president had let this happen. He didn't want to understand how they had let her get back in the game. For a moment, he felt a pang of worry. He was concerned. And what if they found out he lied? What would a corporation as big as theirs do to him? It would be goodbye for him, man. He imagined himself being wiped off the face of the earth and no one ever knowing about it. As he distracted himself by pacing around Catherine, he whispered softly, hope that she would start to regain consciousness was still alive in him. Even so, the guy tried to calm himself down a bit, but deep down he knew if he didn't take the risk, it wouldn't make any difference. At the very least, he wanted to be the guy who tried to save her, and maybe that would be enough for such a big company. After everyone else had given up, he was still there. He kept wondering if they would really ignore someone who had tried so hard. And if, by some miracle, she actually did wake up, that would be incredibly lucky. But what if it didn't work out? But the goblin seemed to be agreeing with him, as if by some kind of magic and crazy logic. Then our boy reached out and touched Catherine's chin. He calculated everything as if he were in a game. He was going to pretend he was doing all this for her. Do it for a while just to see what would happen. Then go back and tell everything. Prepare for the worst. Because suddenly he started laughing at himself. My God. Damn, he was a genius. Alright, now he was going to have to take her with him somehow. He looked at Catherine, who was still paralyzed. Poor thing. She couldn't even move on her own. He thought about it a lot and came up with a great idea. He was soon satisfied to see that Catherine started moving and was being dragged behind him, just fine, looking in the direction they were going according to what showed up in the system. When he pulled, she followed and it worked. But as he walked, he started to feel something very strange, as if several eyes were glued to him. Wait a minute, what's going on? Everyone was staring at him and the situation there was anything but calm. But the goblin was having a blast, and that didn't seem good at all. He tried to explain himself, but things just kept getting more complicated. He got really nervous and said it wasn't what it looked like. Wasn't it though? He knew her, you know? But the woman next to him just said, sure. And is that how you treat someone you know? Then he froze, stunned. What? No, wait a second. He was cornered, poor guy, stuck in this situation again. It was like the pressure was building. He had no idea how to get out of this situation quickly. Then someone called out to him, asking him to come over, and he turned and saw an older man with a white beard. His face looked extremely familiar. He then asked who he was, and the man said there was no time to explain. The man told him to walk quickly, not to waste time. Just follow me. This guy was straight to the point. They both entered a dead-end alley, and he kept watching the man. And now he hadn't expected to run into this guy again. But the man quickly corrected him, calling him a rascal, shameless. Now that he saw it more clearly, everything was starting to make sense. That goblin was indeed Kim Sanso's creation. That's right, and that's how he made it out of that mess alive. But don't think I trust you even a little bit now. What could this guy be scheming this time? Sangreal pretended not to understand. It's just that last time, everything went wrong. Just because we teamed up to defeat the boss, it's our fault. He didn't used to move like that. That made Kim feel a bit more at ease, but our goblin stayed silent next to him. He made some noises, kind of like blah blah blah, and then changed the subject. Is this guy one of those who collect information, or could he be a spy? This guy didn't really know much about this area. Sangreal put a finger to his lips, asking for silence. If he wants to know about Furundo, first we need to go somewhere safer. So they went down a very strange path, and it felt a bit familiar to Kim Sunso. And suddenly, the system sounded an alert. PK mode activated without warning. Sunso landed a few punches on Sangreal. The guy's head looked swollen from the force of the punches, like a pig's. Sangreal said he didn't know everything about Furundal, but he was still pretty well informed. And there, the boss is summoned once a month, like what happened with the Reverend. They only show up when a specific condition is met. Now he was even more confused, but is this for real? Why is this guy so obsessed with dungeons? It's like the moment there's a delay, he loses his mind. Who came up with an excuse right on the spot? It's because of the money, obviously. The harder the dungeon, the bigger the rewards. Then Sangreal's tone turns serious. Even if you're desperate to raid dungeons, everything has its time and he just arrived in Florandel. Look at the size of this city, he should be grateful he's here. After all, they're in Phoenix Albusir. That's the real capital. And he should start with the game's main questline first. That's why the strongest players pass through here. When he said that, Kim Sanso's eyes lit up immediately. Wait, you're right. The main questline, if he focuses on completing the main missions, he'll automatically gain access to higher areas and levels. How did you not think of this before? Is he only now realizing how clueless he was? Wow, now I'm excited. So he turned to the goblin, and the two of them set off with renewed energy. But suddenly, Sanso realized something was off. In the goblin's hand, he immediately noticed that something was missing and stopped right then and there. Then terrified, eyes wide open. Wait, where is she? Where's that girl? Ah, the guy had stolen the girl, but he knew she wasn't very far. Two lunatics were in front of her. The bigger one looked at her with utter disdain. One of them grinned a bit wickedly. Hey, look at her gear. All top-notch stuff. All the best. The big guy licked his lips as he said that she had gone to the bathroom and left her character online. One of them said with a really sleazy grin that they should call a security guard to protect her. Now, that wouldn't make you feel any better either, right? At that moment, Chuo was running like a madman. His heart was racing. Panic had completely taken over his body. That girl was unconscious and an easy target. And if anything happens to her, she might actually die for real this time. A call came in for Jiu and he looked very serious. The young woman is still alive, safe. Kim started to laugh quietly and lied straight to his face. He said she was. Jiu insisted that he show his face, but Chunzung replied immediately, trying to send the money first. Then he pulled himself together and quickly corrected himself. Wait, I mean that the two of us are in the middle of something important right now. Jiu, why are you so out of breath? Ah, damn! He just says he's busy, okay? And then he showed him everything. But Jiu insisted that he show it, so he quickly hung up the call. Jiu stared at a disconnected message. A bit lost, but he whispered softly, "Forget it." His calm expression already showed that he didn't believe anything serious had happened. He lowered his head and quietly said he was sorry for the confusion. It was the president. The guy next to him was Hyun Mudorium, a level 76 knight, but in the real world, he was Ajimun, the president of the Samyang Corporation. Kimen looked at Gil. Do you know who Kathrine is? The truth is, she's the heir to Samyang. Do you really think someone like him could do anything against her? Ji frowned. So why entrust her to a guy like that? If there's even a chance that someone could help, wouldn't it make more sense in the game to have her under our protection? Ryan let out a sigh. Oh boy. Ji-yu, clearly exhausted, said that everyone knew it was .7 if her chances of dying were small. What would really change? She was born into the Simeon family. Her entire life had already been decided for her. The only thing she chose for herself was to enter through the heavenly gate, and that's when this world stopped. Her voice grew soft. That was her escape, the only place where she could be free. So, if it comes to that, wouldn't it be better for her last sight to be this world and not the hospital ceiling? At that moment, Shu was running at full speed through the city out of breath. What kind of game simulates running out of air? Seriously? He groaned in frustration. How am I supposed to find her in such a huge city? Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind. Wait a second, he hasn't actually done anything concrete yet, has he? He also got a goblin point, which is pretty curious. He then quickly opened his system with a skill that had just been unlocked. A new goblin skill was now available in the skill shop. Chuzum's eyes lit up instantly. Let's see what sharing skill we have now. But he had to wait a bit for the goblin. After all, he was going to sacrifice some player points to recover. The summon goblin was supposed to hold on, but why should he return energy to a goblin that doesn't even lose health? So he moved on to the next goblin skill, Goblin Throw. In other words, he could throw the goblin in any direction he wanted. Chuzum thought to himself, throw a goblin? Ah, a mischievous smile appeared on his face. Now maybe this could be really useful. He activated the summoning right away, grabbed it by the head, and activated the whip skill. They flew like a cannonball, and he scanned the area from above and then pointed to a corner of the village, shouting, but suddenly he couldn't hold back his laughter. Catherine ran in that direction. Haha, Catherine, from now on I'm coming after you. We'll be together forever, my love. I love you. But when she got there, she was standing still, and next to her were two brutes. One was a level 44 aspiring swordsman, and the other was nothing more than a strongman, a level 46 brawler. One of them said, "Hey, it's that ugly guy from before." The other one even laughed. The swordsman smiled too, and they started saying that they're there to make that girl happy, and that an ugly guy like him doesn't deserve her. Chuzum said, "Oh really? You think I brought her here for you to understand? Who are you, you bastard?" But they say they're just two charming heroes who like to save damsels in distress. Should you call them sacks of shit? And said that the two of them are the reason she's in danger right now. One of them started grinning widely and said it was time to die. Ugly bastard. The other one spat and charged at Kim. But before he could get close, the goblin jumped around, asking everyone to calm down, like a madman. A second passed and two aspiring heroes were left face to face, not knowing what to do. They were sprawled on the ground, and Josu couldn't hold back his laughter, really letting it out. He enjoyed showing just how stupid those guys were. It must be a weird feeling to lose to a strange guy and become the butt of the joke. What a shame. However, meanwhile, a guard in the back started to notice the commotion. He leaned in asking, "What's that noise?" and began to approach the disturbance. Back at the alley scene, Josu was ranting like a madman and tying a rope around Catherine's neck. But out of nowhere, he froze. His smile vanished in an instant. He looked ahead and thought, "Ah, shit!" A guard showed up, brandishing a weapon and shouting. He accused Kim and his friend of murder and kidnapping. He was screwed. This was really bad. The guard made it clear that Chiosu was in deep trouble, but our protagonist raised his hands, already desperate. If an NPC guard caught him, prison would be his home for a long time. He thought he was about to lose his precious hours of freedom and knew he had to act fast. Zone, the crafty one, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He walked by calmly, put an arm around Kim Junjun with a big smile, and started saying he was looking for her. Seo Grill leaned in and whispered softly that this was not the time to kill guard. After all, this commotion would cause real chaos, and it would leave a mark on him forever. All the guards could show up. If he didn't want to see hell, he should cooperate with Seo Grill right away. He seemed to have a plan. Seo Grill assured him she would take care of the rest. He calmly approached the guard and spoke in an extremely relaxed manner, asking if the guard had had a long date. The guard watched him with extreme suspicion and asked if he was with them and what they were hiding. At that moment, an unexpected system message appeared. The option to create a light discharging one was already unlocked. This could increase favorability. He circled around the guard, discreetly passing his hand, handed over a bag, and told him to take it and pretend he hadn't seen anything. Bribery! Ah! He got really curious, with an extremely twisted expression, bold, and called him corrupt scum. Favorability dropped instantly. It was stunned, poor guy, and stopped blinking rapidly. What was he thinking? He saw Zungru being dragged away. He let them grab him instead of himself. Wait, maybe he's actually a good guy. The seriousness shifts to Kim. He was standing in front of a colossal castle shouting at the guard at the entrance. Why wouldn't this guy let him in? He was pretty irritated. This was where things happened. The capital's mission center. A young man in a yellow robe was saying he wasn't going to waste his time. The door wouldn't open for him. Chom turned to him, wanting to know who this guy was. The guy confidently smiled and introduced himself as God. An exclamation point floated above his head. A quest marker. The guy was a quest giver. God scratched his beard, saying that the first thing he did upon arriving was to make a scene. If he was a newbie, he should know that. Kim was left paralyzed, confused. Their eyes were white, looking like a void. The guy laughed, loving his expression. It was the look of a true adventurer. He decided that he would be the chosen one, the one to take on his quest. The Lost Ruins. Without thinking twice, he accepted the quest and said he would take him inside the castle. So the main quest began, and he needed to retrieve the golem's core from the Lost Ruins. Showing its value, the golem's core was worth 0. First reward, 250 coins. When Kim entered, he realized he had been thoroughly deceived. Damn! You should have warned me. This was exactly the kind of dungeon he wanted to avoid. He started complaining about the Lost Ruins. What was lost there were the lives of the poor souls, the fools who came before him. He assessed his chances. Dodging the traps was extremely easy, but this time he wasn't alone. He needed to protect someone. He whispered very quietly that he didn't like her, but unfortunately, he couldn't let her get hurt. He turned to the goblin and told him to hold the leash. Poor thing, taking a deep breath, quickly let go and shouted, then dashed off, leaping over the traps and pressure plates. Kim Chunsu reached the other side and shouted to the goblin, activating his summoning ability. The goblin landed in front of him shouting, "Quiet," but was still holding the leash. Katarine was still on the other side. The leash was taut. Katarine almost tumbled down. Poor thing! Oh my god, she's not going to fall. Or is she? Kyuso shouted to get the goblin out of the way. He shouted back and yanked Katarine's leash with all his strength. She flew like a ragdoll, poor thing. Our boy was horrified. What was he doing? He covered his face with his hands, but he could still see through his fingers. Wow. Now panic completely took over this guy. Oh, Katarine hanging there. That girl couldn't die there. Not because of him. He begged her to hold on. The scene shifts to Agmon, loosening his tie. He grabbed a baton and started yelling that he was being held back because of his friends. Friends at his age are fleeting, yet already won before, clueless. He gave the girl a look of contempt. He wondered if he had really chosen this path. To live like one of these pitiful girls. Katarine threw herself to the ground with her, apologized, and promised she wouldn't do it again. She begged for help to get her out. Anne seemed paralyzed and helpless. Katarina's mother, she was in a panic, screaming for her mother. Monday attacked again. This guy was very cold and attacked only a stain. Amon incited her again to go back. Crying, Katarine asked the goblin, what are they going to do now? The goblin smiled and shouted Chaozo's name. He closed his eyes. After all, someone would never get close to girls like them unless they did something. And he thought about resurrection. He stopped and thought, this is just a little game, but it wasn't real. Oh well. A beautiful loud sigh. The situation was impossible from the start. In a pointless outing, she is endangered. The Good Samaritan law perhaps is not an indecent act, it simply helps. He leaned in again and hesitated, about to help. Meanwhile, suddenly Iko interrupted, saying that the lady was waiting. What madness, man? Achaozo kept watching, wondering what was going on. He saw Shell's wrinkled lips. The bastard dodged but looked terrified. He shouted that he would kill them later, but Kim started to stutter. It was all fine. She just wasn't dead. The medical team was keeping an eye on her, monitoring her vital signs, and updates were constant. Rare fabric that enabled defense, everything was up to standard. The armor was top-notch, and Jill said that if it went in a dungeon, she wouldn't even bother. So it was quite possible. She had extraordinary abilities, but if it was a hidden dungeon, that was it. She probably wasn't going to die. Poor guy. He breathed a sigh of relief. So she wasn't dead. The reason for checking was to make sure not even a single strand of her hair touched his body. He insisted on seeing her. Kim then ended the call, and he just stared at the screen, completely stunned. What is this? He was filled with immense anger. The cave entrance. Kim Sunzu was shouting, "Listen to me, Goblin. This time is going to work." And they dashed off toward the boss's room. Running through the dungeon, they soon came across a huge rolling boulder, and he started yelling at the goblin to dodge the boulder. He grabbed Katarine and used her as a human sled. Then a broken bridge appeared, and the goblin crossed it as if he were the protagonist swinging on a hook. He used the top rope like a balance beam and crossed with extreme caution. A huge stone goblin. They finally reached the boss room. Sunzu, Katarine as a human shield. The golem swung its arm and sent Katarine flying through the air. Damn, what is this? Man, it destroyed everything. I got so excited and accidentally used her as a weapon against the boss. A system notification. The goblin, a bastard point. This guy started yelling that it was the golem's call. Katarine was sprawled out on the ground. Poor thing. Her arm was trembling. While the golem and the goblin were locked in battle, explosions echoed throughout the place, and smoke and sparks filled the air. The goblin showed no mercy. He drove the staff right into the golem's chest, and the golem collapsed. The goblin landed softly. It was as if nothing had happened, but our boy was pretty calm. He let out a huge sigh of relief. This was nothing to him, he just needed to grab the core. But before he could process either of those things, the goblin started to get stressed and agitated. The system said that the runes had reached phase 2 enhancement, and he had also leveled up his revival skill. But what the hell is this? Now is huge and keeps getting bigger. In other words, this monster is gonna get stronger every time. This golem changed his targets. Now he's aiming at our protagonist. So he activated his summoning ability again, and the goblin went straight for the golem, but Joshua shouted for him not to destroy. I needed to try to block it. If it breaks one more time, it's going to get even stronger. The goblin jumped in front of him. Throwing himself dangerously to dodge this was the only option. The golem slammed the ground with impacts that shook the entire earth. It was over. As one goblin fell, bam, it happened again. 2 more hits. He dodged the blows and thought to himself, damn, is this for real? Will he survive? Whether he messed up or not, nothing he did mattered if he doesn't destroy the core. It'll just come back even stronger. The core should be his weak point. He compared it to the Iron Titan, but this isn't one of those. He doesn't have any special abilities and kept running, thinking quickly. What could he do? He thinks about crushing the enemy. And what if this guy suddenly gets stronger, even stronger than his goblin? In the room, the tension keeps rising. Katarine stands still, lost in her thoughts. The golem's footsteps draw closer, and suddenly he remembers something, memory of a secret trap. Katarine's eyes widen instantly. She lets out a terrifying scream. The stronger golem is right there. He throws a brutal punch at Katarine. The impact is deafening. Dust and debris fly everywhere. The battlefield becomes shrouded in darkness. Reaching a critical point, Katarine finds herself in danger. Her heart sinks. She fears the worst. She prays to make it out okay. Katarine tries to calm herself, and the damage probably isn't fatal. But the golem doesn't stop. Punch after punch is thrown. It's hard to even see Katarine in the smoke, sir. A voice echoes behind him. What the hell? What's going on over there? Catherine asks. She turns around confused, leaning on her magic staff. What's going on? She's lost, but soon seems to snap out of it, taking in everything around her. Catherine wonders, what is she doing there? And who is he? What just happened? The protagonist starts to stammer. But the system quickly alerts. Escape skill activated. Stop screaming like that. He smiles extremely confidently after all. He just saved the company heiress, so he's sure he'll get a huge reward. Damn, where's the problem? Catherine immediately cuts him off. Hey, are you deaf or what? Drastically changing her tone to something even friendlier. But yes, do you want to know what happened? A girl who was attacked by monsters fainted in the middle of a dungeon right during the noble speech. The gem suddenly fell, spinning like a windmill, and crashed down with a bang. Damn, how annoying. She could have warned him again. Another attack? Catherine screams, running around like crazy. What did he ask her? She just blinks attentively. He can't hesitate any longer. Catherine murmurs that she's scared. Scared of what's coming next. What if your father finds out? He could kill me! In this reality, Catherine screams in panic and the others hold on tight. Ju ran to the room. You're back! The doctor confirms and she's awake. Something really strange happened. She's in critical condition. Ju is furious. Kim Chun-soo, you bastard, son of a bitch. His stomach is churning. What the hell did he do to her? The doctor is one step ahead. Let's get her out of the game quickly by turning off the device. And he refuses to let that happen. They can't just turn it off like that. It's too risky with the dungeon still active. The system hasn't released the option. He clenches his fist and Kim Chun-soo is in control. He's gonna watch it live. In the system, the ruined golem uses the stone missile skill and launches both of his hands toward Catherine. And she starts running. But when she looks back, those two stone hands are about to hit her head and she starts screaming. Suddenly, the goblin jumps in front and strikes those two missiles, shattering everything in the air. Our protagonist asks, what does she think she's doing? After all, she'll never be able to outrun that monster at this speed. Poor thing! She's lying there on the ground and he asks if she's okay, but all she says is that she's scared, she's really scared, she's afraid, and keeps repeating that she's scared, crying, poor thing. He comes closer, trying to understand what's wrong with his girl. Something's not quite right here. Things are about to get a bit more complicated. Meanwhile, our goblin is still laughing. He approaches her from behind and raises his club, thinking he'll just knock this girl out after all. In the state, she's just dead weight. Catherine stammers through her tears. Poor thing, please save me. And Kim Chun-soo, frightened, watches us. Listen, help me, I'm lost. I don't know how to escape and I promise I'll pay. She promises to pay more than her own father. Kim's expression changes completely. What the hell are you talking about? Of course I'm gonna save you. We're all gonna get out of here alive. Relax. That's not it. Whether I run or fight or whatever you help me with. No answer, no support from my family. No one is going to help me. Ju warns over the communicators. Kim, you bastard, I've had enough. If you don't bring the girl, you're going to have to deal with me. And Goblin 99 raises his baton, ready to attack. Don't do it. Ju shouts quickly. Listen man, you're overreacting. You're acting like, if I was to blame, why did you ask for help? If you don't trust me, look at Catherine on the screen. She's fine, look. Trust is everything, damn it. He didn't kidnap her, he just helped to get her back. Relax man. Ju, take it easy. The guy's still suspicious. He's wondering what's going on there. She seems fine, so why this sudden change? What the hell happened? He starts adjusting his glasses and realizes it was just a misunderstanding. Ju says she's also wrapping up this deal and will go there herself to bring her back. But our protagonist starts complaining that he's at a crucial moment and needs to finish the job, so Ju simply hangs up the call. Phew, that was a close one. He was really scared, but Kim tells her to be honest and that she'd better keep her word about the money. She starts crying and calls him a liar, and he asks her not to take it the wrong way after all. He needs a lot of money, and if she doesn't pay, he'll just tell them that she woke up and demand the reward he needs. While they're talking, she cries and the goblin keeps hitting the golem in the background. She tells him that even if she has to sell all her equipment, she'll pay, but he thinks she's joking after all. Even if she sold everything, she wouldn't be able to come up with that much money, and he wants 100 million. So he claps his hands and tells the goblin it's time to get to work. The goblin smiles as the golem is now at level 170 with 4 arms. He warned that the golem should have stopped hitting that monster. Ah, this is all that goblins fought. Well, the two of them started running while the golem was destroying everything there. If even a single blow hits Kim, it'll all be over, but suddenly an ice explosion spell hits, petrifying him on the spot. He looks back, wondering why that golem stopped moving. Did they manage to do it? But no, it wasn't them who did it, it was the girl. She used the freeze status effect, a power that can freeze its targets. The duration is reduced against higher level enemies. In other words, she won't be able to hold that monster for very long. She shouts for them to run while the monster is frozen. After all, it will break free soon. But as soon as she says that, the golem shatters all the ice that was petrifying it, and they sprint off, running as fast as they can until they reach the exit door. While they were running, the rope tying her got caught on one of the rocks, and she was yanked back and thrown to the ground. While the other two kept running, she shouted for them to stop and help her. Kim stopped abruptly and looked back as she pleaded for help, but the stone golem was also charging at full speed after her, while she screamed, "Please save me!" He froze, paralyzed, not knowing what to do. Then the previous scene flashed through his mind. This time things were different. Last time she was killed because he was weak, but now he had to save her. However, he remembered that since she was killed by a level 80 monster, she had fallen unconscious. In other words, what would happen if she died to a level 170 monster? She might have several doctors to save her, but he doesn't. She starts to cry. Foreseeing her imminent end, all she can think in that moment is that no matter how loudly she screams, he won't change his mind, and in the end, he's just like the others. The golem's blow is about to hit her body as she screams that no one will ever save her, and then the strike hits the ground, shattering everything in the area. But then we see that the goblin's hand was completely smashed and broken, and then exploded into several pieces by a mysterious person with a yellow cloak. Those who look back wondered who that guy was. The guy said he did a great job holding off that boss. That was the NPC god. He said they could leave the rest to him, but why would that guy be right there? Sometimes there are missions like this that are designed so that no matter who takes them on, they're doomed to die. First of all, the golem didn't have a core, and if he had kept attacking recklessly, it would have become infinitely stronger. And if you fight the enemy without knowing anything, you're bound to suffer a natural loss. The story continues with the NPC achieving a crushing cinematic victory over the enemy. After all, there's no better way to showcase the strength of NPCs within a story. Who remembers that when he was hit by that level 50 thing before, he didn't even bother to feel real pain? It seems that was the built-in system to prevent potential accidents. But that NPC brandished his sword while saying, "How dare you do this to my subordinate?" But who exactly is this guy calling his subordinate? And in the next moment, he charged at the golem, while Kim said he was counting on that NPC gentleman. And in the following moments, his hair stood on end from all the explosions that happened. He looked on, a bit worried and in disbelief at what was going on. The NPC god was from far away. He got about saying that this wasn't even enough to warm up. Why does this guy keep talking as if he's already won this fight? He charged at the golem again, and the golem used all 4 of its arms to strike him. It was an insane fight. Sometimes the golem landed a hit, other times it took a beating. Even so, this guy kept saying it wasn't even enough to warm up. This guy is level 70. Dude, the guy is level 70. You know, players usually get these quests when they're around level 30. This golem started at level 40. So even a regular player wouldn't be able to defeat this monster. And they'd lose to a level 45 golem, let alone one at 117 no chance. After all, if you managed to win, you'd move up to level 50, and so on. But the guy kept saying it was this damn golem that intimidated all his people. In other words, this looks like system protection. From the looks of it, a high-level NPC is going to show up and easily put an end to this fight. While he was thinking about what was happening, the goblin was lying on top of his club, smiling. Well, normally, no player can raise a golem from 50 to 170. That kind of thing just doesn't happen. The guy kept getting beaten up and kept saying that this isn't even a warm-up. And now, the system has completely bugged out because the NPC who was supposed to defeat this golem can't move forward. But in fact, this NPC is the one who should finish this quest, right? As long as the golem isn't destroyed, he won't die. That means it could be useful. Because when the god NPC appeared, the golem's code also materialized. While he was saying this, the guy charged at the golem, trying to guess where the code was. And with a psychopath's look on his face, he said it was right there. But before he could land a hit, our goblin got there first and struck exactly where he was aiming. And with that, the goblin used his stone throwing skill. With just a single pebble thrown, the golem was completely destroyed and collapsed to the ground. But the god NPC kept saying that this didn't even count as his warm-up. If it weren't for him, everyone would be dead. It's over. Anyway, everyone is safe. He thinks it doesn't matter much, but then he wonders, what? Safe? He remembers the girl and she was still on the ground. Thank God. Is the girl really safe? Then back in the city, they're walking together with that god NPC. Kim is extremely embarrassed because he wasn't able to protect that girl again. She was about to die twice in a row right in front of him, while the god NPC said he was right. Surviving in a place like that is already enough to prove how strong he is. Now, he looks even worse than that woman who betrayed him. He starts to sweat as they head toward the vice captain of the Royal Knights outpost. They're going to meet him in person. And that god NPC tells them to stay quiet, not to say anything or ask anything, that he'll take care of everything. He winks, saying they'll see each other soon. Then he calmly starts walking away, saying that maybe if they want to walk on clouds, they can walk with him. This guy's really out of his mind. He stops there and stays quiet, with an exclamation mark above his head. Now it's just the two of them together, Catherine and our Kim Shun Shun. The situation is tense. He clenches his fists and gathers the courage to talk to her. He starts shouting, saying that what happened before was his fault. Then someone approaches and says that she has finally woken up. Katarina. That guy is huge. Who is this guy? He has equipment he's never seen before, and his aura is on another level. Is he just another rich guy, or is he an incredibly skilled individual? But then he looks up and says, "Father, a king." He knew she had regained consciousness the moment she had that seizure. He has been very worried about her day and night, and he also hoped she would get better once she became an adult. But she keeps playing these mischievous pranks. He then smiles, turns to Kim, and thanks her for taking care of his precious Katarine. And it seems that their belief that she will finally wake up has come true. He will make sure the team gets a good reward. They will be in touch soon. He reaches out his hand to Katarine while Kim watches everything, thinking that he is just a hopeless piece of trash. Unfortunately, she wasn't even able to scold him. But as her father carries her, he keeps wondering why she doesn't ask for help again. Everyone thinks this guy is unreliable, but maybe, just maybe this time, he could actually save her. He starts shouting, asking them to wait a second. The two turn around to see what's going on. This guy is President Rank Mong from the Sejong group. He is also known for being very kind, compassionate, gentlemanly, and admirable. Isn't that right, Katerina? Is this man really the person I know? If he is the way everyone describes him, why does her face look like she's about to die? When a big guy like that came to get her, he grabs her hand while saying he won't let her leave. Come on, Katerina. But she's frozen and stalling to leave. Then suddenly, she pulls her arm away from his hand, while he doubts whether he can really save her. But by what right, my friend? He breaks promises easily, and everyone knows he's nothing but a coward, and she doesn't even expect to be saved. Was he thinking of becoming a hero at this point? No. He lowers his head as he says, "You will always belong to the goblins, Kim Shui-zu." Some people start to comment that that man, the Night King, is one of the 3 people who cleaned the Duke's Great Archive. This is the Night King Hankimon, level 76, and also the president of the Semyung group. Several people start shouting, asking for autographs and also photos with him. But who is that beautiful woman next to him? He blatantly lies, saying she's just someone he met recently at a party, while whispering, "Remember, Katarine, keep in mind how people see me and how they see you." If they find out she's his daughter, just imagine the outrage and the reaction it would cause. Several people start running toward the Night King, rushing to ask for autographs and photos. Others even say it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to meet the Great King. Some people even pay for it, but Kim remains deep in thought. Wait a second. No matter how bad your life is, it can't be worse than mine. Yeah, that's right. Why should he feel guilty? He decides to forget about his payment while saying this isn't the end. Then suddenly Seo GYU appears. What the hell is he doing in a manhole? Did this guy get stuck in a place like that? After the guard caught him? A prison in a sewer. Seo GYU said that back then he was caught by the guards and managed to escape. And he's been there ever since. And actually it's not that bad. He can see everything around there that he would never see if he were outside, if you know what I mean. Imagine a guy hiding underneath in a place where lots of women wear dresses. He's talking about peeping. He starts saying that the woman who was with President Kim, he said she was just a member of the group, but she seems seriously injured compared to him. Kim plays dumb and says, "What? Injured? I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe she got hurt fighting some monsters." He goes on to say that pain is transmitted by signals from the brain. In other words, their bodies only feel pain, but they don't get bruises or swelling. He said very clearly that he saw things there that he wouldn't be able to see if he were outside. Her body had signs of physical abuse. Wow, that was a shock for Kim. So he ran over there shouting for everyone to wait a second and started calling the king a piece of trash. How does this man dare to kidnap someone in broad daylight right in front of all these people? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? The guy smiles as he says he doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. And please avoid saying things like that to prevent misunderstandings. Does this guy think that just because he's the president of a big company, he doesn't have to follow the law? And he starts yelling that that woman is his girlfriend. And besides, we're already together? Well, I didn't really get that part. All he said was that it's been a long time, but she was in shock after he said that. Could that be true? If it is, it's a huge scandal. The guy says there's no evidence at all. After all, big corporations are slandered with fake news all the time. But the guy keeps smiling and says he confused this girl with someone else, all the while saying he's in a big hurry. Then Kim starts to say, if this woman isn't his girlfriend, then who is she to you? He's partying alone with a woman in such revealing clothes. That old pervert. Why is a young girl walking around with an old man like that? It just seems wrong. How is this any different from cheating? He thought this guy would be a decent person. The old man keeps smiling as he says it's not even worth answering. Let's go now. Suddenly, someone stomps their foot panting and says that the two of them are together. That's Patrick Grew, the butler of the Semyon group. When he heard that it was Lady Catherine, the candidate to inherit the Semyon group, who had woken up, he rushed over there quickly. He knelt down, took her hand, and said that he loved serving the Semyon group. But Catherine didn't understand anything that was going on, yet those words made the crowd believe that this was Catherine, the daughter of President Han Ki-mon. That's big news. But how could they trust a company with someone like that? Other people are quite confused. After all, the president said she was only a temporary member of the group. Whatever it is, someone is lying. Could it be him who's lying? Kim gets close to the president and tells him to be honest, while the president calls him a bastard. But Kim asks him if it wouldn't be better for him to admit that she's his daughter now. Tell people that he failed to raise his daughter properly, but will guide her to act correctly. There might be some confusion, but it's a manageable scandal. In that case, if he does that, he'll make it clear that he must be crazy and that he confused this person and that he has no relationship with this woman. And of course, he won't expose the fact that he's also abusing or setting someone. The president was disgusted and told him to watch his words. After all, the words of a stray dog mean nothing against the words of a king. How dare he say such things? He stomps his foot and starts shouting, telling everyone not to be swayed by him. Don't believe a single word this guy says. He realizes that this guy has an extremely high level skill. What kind of skill makes his words sound like needles being driven into your head? Everyone is in shock. Even that self-programmed butter of the group and even that woman he just met today. They're all conspiring to blackmail him. This is the king's story. He, Han Ki-mon, would never do something of this magnitude. After all, he is from the Semyon group. He then draws his sword while saying that right here, he will execute all three of them, activating PK mode. This way, he will prove that none of them have any kind of relationship. But just as he's about to attack, someone very small, with green arms and a helmet, strikes his sword.